Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 62. He's Dave Bryan, I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. Unfortunately, the Steelers' 2019 season has come to a close after a 28-10 loss to the Baltimore Ravens. They end the year 8-8 and miss out on the playoffs for the second consecutive year. And David just felt like a miserable day, a rainy day. It was just awful yesterday.
Yeah, it was. And it was right from the get-go. I mean, yeah, you hit on it. Kind of or it was a gloomy day. You know, it took once they finally got that tarp rolled back there. You know, the rains kind of continued on, and the season's, the Steelers season got rained on all throughout that game as well too, and got rained on heavily with a bunch of runs on top of it, and right from the get-go. The train was coming, and you knew it was coming, but it wasn't anything. We talked about this ahead of this game about, boy, the Ravens. You know what they're going to do. They can tell you what they're going to do. The popcorn guy knows what they're going to do, but stopping it, is a different thing. And the Steelers, right out of the gate there, just did not seem to have an answer for the Ravens, just seeming like they were going to get 4, 5, 6, 9 yards on every play, and really didn't drop back but once, I think, on that first drive there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that set the tone right away. The Steelers hadn't allowed a 100-plus yard rusher the entire season until Gus Edwards put a $130 on them. But yeah, I mean, it just felt like and I don't like to use this stuff too often because it's not tangible, but they just felt tired yesterday. They just kind of felt like the season's over. They were scoreboard watching. Baltimore was displaying the score of the Titans-Texans game repeatedly throughout the game. I'm sure that was the Steelers were aware of that, saw Tennessee build a lead, and it just felt like this team was tired and just couldn't wait for the clock to hit 0 in the season 10.
Yeah, on top of it, the defense is probably saying, "What the heck?" Even if we hold them to 16 points here, what good is it?
Right.
And I think there were a few comments even after the game. I think Bud Dupree made some. It did get a little bit tiring knowing that they had to go out every game and get a turnover or 2 or 3 or even score. And I can only imagine. I can only imagine maybe there being a little bit division, possibly some animosity, if you will. Look, like it or not, as good a person as you can try to be, if you're on one side of that fence, as opposed to the other, there has to be a little bit of animosity there. Guys, why can't you score, a few points here? Help us out a little bit. And, we talked about all throughout the season, what's going to happen in these games where, they do run into a team that can score a few points, or they run into a situation where they can't garner several turnovers in the opposing end of the field there. And unfortunately, we've seen that, far too many times. And when you can't stop an opposing, look, when you can't even force the other team to throw the football, it makes it kind of tough to get a turnover on top of it there. So, yeah, they did seem a little bit tired, really, on both sides of the ball, like they were going through the motions yesterday and just ready to get on with the offseason.
Well, the offense looked tired, but they always look tired. That just seems
right.
Standard fare for them. The defense is where you really felt it. I don't think there was division. I think obviously there was probably some frustration there.
No, I'm not saying there was, but it's hard not to kind of be, or deep down inside having a little bit of animosity,
I just think it's a mental wear and tear. And here's a tweet from ESPN's Brooke Pryor. This is just the tweet, so there's not a whole lot of context here in terms of a video. But Pryor tweeted, I guess the question was, did the pressure the defense faced week after week to score and get stops weigh on you after a while? And Bud Dupree said, yeah, it did. And that makes sense. I think it gets to a point where your defense, as good as this defense is, can only do so much. And when your offense scores literally on average the last half of the season, they average, I think, 12.7 points per game on offense. I mean, that's just pitiful in 2019. That feels like something out of 1950. So I'm sure there was a mental wear that kind of really showed it in this game.
Yeah, the last 3 games scored 10 points.
Yep.
I mean, you're just not going to win games that way. And,
yeah, well, Sunday the Steelers offense had 10 points, and they gave up 9 points with the Barry play and the safety. So they basically made it 10-9 themselves.
I guess when you look at it that way, yep.
So it's the same old story again. The offense's mission the entire year was don't turn the football over. What did they do every game this year? Turn the football over.
Right.
I mean, There's not much you can do at that point.
We're going to head into 2020 talking about a 23 consecutive game streak of turning. I've been crying for it by keys every week. End the streak. It's amazing. It's amazing how much you can, how much closer possible you can have games go, as long as you just don't turn the damn football over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here they are. 23 consecutive games of turning the football over at least once, and boy, the ones that they had were doubly inflictive kind of wounds against the Ravens.
Yeah, and the one big one they had yesterday was obviously the one at the end of the first half where the Steelers were trying to put together a drive, and I think that was a tight end screen to Vance. I think that was the same play they ran against the Jets last week, and Vance, that was the guy he was blocking, so when he came off of him to turn for the screen, that guy came in free, and Duck doesn't protect the football, and it just ball comes out, and that's that. So, yeah, that was a big turning point, and that's the same old story as every story we've talked about this year after a loss, where offensive turnovers have killed you, and it killed you to the very end.
Yeah, absolutely. You just can't. I mean, look, no matter who your quarterback is, you can't turn the football over that consistently in the NFL and not pay for it. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're going to be talking about this streak all off season, and boy, you have to go. It seems like such a long time ago. You have to go back to the Carolina Panthers game last season in Week 10. For the last time that they did not turn the football over, on offense there. So, yeah, I mean, you gotta get that under control there.
No turnovers, 50-point offenses. That was a year ago. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Sure does.
Yeah. Dave, let's reset here. We'll talk about the injury report briefly. Mike Tomlin didn't have an injury report after the game. They were just trying to get out of there. It was rained on all day. But for the inactive list, Marquise Pouncey, James Conner. The notable inactives joining Zach Gentry, two-star skipper, Chukwuma Okorafor, Artie Burns, and Amaro Darba. Pretty standard there, all expected. Artie Burns was presumably ends his Steeler career inactive for the last 6 games. I think Chooks was only active for 3 games this entire year. So disappointments there, but that's the inactive list. Any thoughts there?
No real surprises there. Yeah, you hit on it that Artie Burns is going to go out being a healthy scratch after all these games. Not overly surprising there. I mean, you obviously want to try to get the helmet to rookie Justin Lane, for the final few games there, and they were able to do that. I tell you, it was went into the season. If you would have told me going into the season that Chukwuma Okorafor would have only dressed for 3 games or so, I'm not sure I would have believed that. I mean, right out of the chute, that was a bit of a surprise that he didn't dress and Zach Banner did. And of course, we know how that all played out throughout the season there. So, if not for injury, Chukwuma Okorafor wouldn't have dressed all season there. So it kind of makes you wonder where they are on him right now. In this process, and of course, the other weekly inactives, not that notable there.
Yeah, we'll talk about maybe Okorafor a little bit later in the show and how it relates to Ramon Foster and his future. To the game, we'll start with the offense. As miserable as it was a terrible start. I think it was a terrible job in the second half. Things perked up a little bit midway through the first half. Got a lead with a Benny Snell touchdown. There was a positive from the offense this game. I'd say it was Benny Snell, who ran for 91 yards, I believe, and just kind of ran to his style, downhill, physical. One of the few bright spots on the offense Sunday against Baltimore.
Yeah, he really was one of the few bright spots, and as soon as we knew, I think he's the kind of guy that needs to kind of get the carries to get going.
That's what he did to Kentucky. That's kind of what he's used to.
Kind of guy that ride me, let me get a little bit warmed up here and get going. I think we saw that a few times this year. 18 carries, 91 yards, touchdown. He had a long of 19. I think he had another run of 15. Seemed like maybe another 1 or 2, I think, over 10 yards. When you go through all of his runs in their totality, I think 11, I think I counted 11 of 18, Alex, as being successful runs.
Wow.
So, heck, ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, I did write before the start of the game, I kind of felt that he's a guy that you probably needed to get 23, 24 carries. I forget the exact number I put on it there to potentially win the game. Heck, if you add up his carries and Kareth White's together, it's only 21 in total there. So, if they were able to get themselves in a situation where they would have been able to run the football more than they did, in the fourth quarter there, maybe it's a little bit different story. I mean, obviously the game was kind of close until, those last few miscues. What did we say there? You had the in the fourth quarter alone, they gave up the fumble in the end zone. They gave up the safety, and then they gave up a Tucker 47-yard field goal there, about a minute and a half or so into the fourth quarter there. So you're talking about a game that was 16-10 up until 13:29 left in the fourth quarter there. They were still in it. As bad as they were playing there, but then obviously the offense and special teams let it get away from that point. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the totality of what happened with Benny Snell throughout his rookie season, obviously, it was interrupted by 3 games with the knee injury there. It would have been interesting to see, how he could have helped contribute along, during that period that he was banged up, because I think Jalen Samuels, didn't they kind of overlap a little bit? I think really James Conner's injury possibly overlapped as well there. So he was a bright spot, and I think now Benny Snell has got himself in a position where he'll be able to compete for that for maybe that starting running back position next year.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Obviously, I think Connor's the most talented guy, but as you said, Snell really works best whenever he gets to be the guy. So I don't want to preview 2020 too much, and this is all obviously projection and speculation anyway, but how do you see his role? Obviously, he's going to have one, but kind of how do you see that role expanding for 2020?
Well, it just goes back to what you just said, and what we've said is I think he is the kind of guy, if he's going to be your guy, he needs to be your guy.
Right, but it's hard to make him the guy with Connor there, at least when he's healthy.
Exactly. But, I mean, we even saw some good pass pro stuff last night. I don't think it surprised either of us, but it's good to see him eat up grass, get into the hole. We already knew he's kind of a willing guy anyway in that area. But look, I mean, once he gets a better understanding, during the offseason on into next season of a better grasp of pass protection, who his guy is, and those kind of things, I think he's going to be in a long line of another running back for the Steelers that are good at it. Le'Veon Bell obviously was good at it. James Conner, it didn't take him, once he got past his rookie season, he turned a corner in that. I mean, it's not like he wasn't willing right out of the gate. It's just he didn't know who to get, kind of thing. I think you're seeing kind of the same thing with Benny Snell. And that's the thing that I think they're going to have to overcome is Snell a guy that can just get spot duty and get it done for you, or is he a guy that needs to be in there and needs those first 4 or 5 carries of the game to get kind of heated up? And then, look, I mean, you're dealing with a guy in James Conner anyway that has been dinged up quite a bit. Can you get away with kind of him being your spell back? I don't know. But look, at least they got 2 guys that I think can compete for that going into next year, and hopefully health will be kinder to both of them.
Amen to that. It's a difficult balance, but I'm excited for Snell, and I think like backs before him, like Le'Veon Bell, like Jalen Samuels, like James Conner, we're going to see Snell probably drop a little bit of weight in the offseason. Usually guys drop 5 to 10 pounds, get a little bit faster, a little more explosive, be conditioned for the entire season. And so I think Snell with a little bit more burst is going to do him good, because if there's one complaint with him, sometimes he can hit the hole, but he can't get through it because he doesn't have that burst to be able to outrun some second and third level defenders.
Well, look, here's the thing. He had a nice little selection of explosive runs this year. And in fact, almost won an explosive one against the Ravens on 19 yards there. This is a kid in college that didn't have a high percentage of explosive runs. So, yeah, I mean, look, if he gets that conditioning, he should only get better, you know. Now the question becomes, I'm sure, it's something we're going to talk about from here until obviously until the draft. I mean, we both agree Jalen Samuels was just a guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was used in a strict passing only capacity yesterday. I don't know how many snaps he got, probably fewer than 10. So I think that kind of tells you how they view him.
Right. They gave us a good idea of how they view him yesterday in that game there. And, obviously we don't know a ton about Kareth White to this point. I mean, he did some good things, but, obviously not an every down back. Moving forward here, I've already seen some people tweet at me. I'm sure you have too. Boy, we got to grab a running back, with a second or third round pick in this next year's draft. Well, obviously I got a long time to change my mind here right now, but my initial reaction is no. Second and third round pick, even fourth round pick. I don't think. Now, if you want to pick up, if you want to try to get a guy, fifth, sixth, seventh round. Okay, but man, this offense is going to have so many holes, I think, as it is, that they're going to need to get filled, and they're going to have to assume that Benny Snell Jr. or James Conner can be that guy next year, and we'll see what happens with Kareth White, obviously, and we'll see what happens with Jalen Samuels. But my first inclination for these people saying they got to go get a top back in second or third round pick is no, they don't.
Yeah. I'm with you, because if you had to even rank just on offense alone, the positions of need, running back might almost be last on my list. I mean, in no order: tight end, interior offensive line, really anywhere on the offensive line in general, receiver, even quarterback. I mean, I think I might put all those positions, maybe not quarterback, but I put the others ahead of running back in terms of need.
Yeah, I would too, Alex. I would too.
And largely because those guys are all coming back, and Conner and Snell and you got Samuels and White and even Trey Edmonds as special teams value, like that. That's your group.
And we think Nix will be back too, healthy. And how much did they miss him this year?
A lot, a lot.
I mean, let's face it, they didn't have Nix all season.
Yeah, and when he was out there, he wasn't healthy.
Right. I mean, he got injured. It's amazing that he played the amount of snaps that he played in week one.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he didn't play at all in week one on offense.
Right. What I'm saying is it's amazing the amount of snaps that he did play in week one.
Okay. In the sense that he didn't play?
Right. Well, in the sense that he played special teams.
Okay.
I mean, didn't all he play is special teams?
Yeah. He didn't get snapped on offense. I don't know exactly. I guess the injury happened late in that game. I don't remember the whole timeline, but they missed Roosevelt Nix, and that's kind of the bottom line.
Right. And once he did return, he wasn't the same guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To stick with the offense, now to the negative side of things, Devlin Hodges again getting the start. Finished 9 of 25 for 95 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, the fumble lost the end of the first half. It was okay for about a quarter. The second quarter before that fumble was decent. There was a really strong third down throw to complete to Dionte Johnson for 20 something yards, but the second half, I mean, everything just fell apart. There was the rain. You're throwing from behind. Just couldn't do anything. So that closes the book on a roller coaster year for Devlin Hodges, which reflects the Steelers' 2019 season, I think, pretty well.
Yeah, I don't think, he's going to be lucky to take another NFL snap.
Duck Mania has.
Yeah, it's come and gone, I think.
Yep.
We'll look back at it. It's just one of those. It's just part of. I kind of used that animated GIF last week. There, the roller coaster. Well, officially now the roller coaster has come to an abrupt halt here when it comes to this. But people got mad at us, Alex. I think a lot of our listeners got mad at us not wanting to draw a hard line in the sand about either of these guys. But I think when you go back and you look at the totality, especially at Hodges, and you look at his passing charts. And you look at even how the games they won, I will say this, at least there was some kind of definable play. We talked about him, that rollout, extending that play. Who was that against now? It's been so many damn games ago.
Arizona, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, Arizona there extending that play on third down there. How many other plays do we see like that though? How many signature plays did we see? Now he did drop a couple. Look, he had a nice one that he dropped in the bucket on Sunday to Dionte.
Yep.
Okay, but the pocket presence just never was there with him as a whole, and really outside of that play against the Cardinals, how many extended plays did he make? You know.
Yeah, I mean there weren't a ton of those. There were bright spots. I don't want to completely forget about what he did prior to the Bills game when everything kind of fell apart for him, the offense and the entire season. There is some talent there, and I do understand this is still a rookie UDFA that probably got worn down and certainly overwhelmed. And the line stopped protecting, and there were just a myriad of issues offensively, but. I do think there is some talent there. I do want to see how he comes back next year. Obviously, not in a starting capacity, which he won't need to be because presumably Ben will return and be healthy. But I don't want to write him off entirely because there was legitimately good play prior to the Bills game.
He did have his moments, especially down the field.
Yeah, I mean some of his placement, his arm
outside of the numbers, obviously, but.
Yeah, I mean, but his placement, some of his accuracy. I mean, it's not bad, especially again considering all the circumstances.
Right. I mean, for a guy off the street, I mean, rookie, undrafted free agent. But I mean, it's hard to imagine right now him being anything higher than a 3, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, again, I don't want to project the quarterback room too early, but I think you just have Rudolph and Hodges battle it out because neither guy really earned anything this year, so you let them battle it. Maybe you bring in a real, low-level veteran guy to be your number 4 and throw him into the mix as well. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's ever going to be a starter. Almost certainly won't be a long-term answer. But, again, I still see the talent that I saw in Latrobe, that you saw in the regular season, and things just faded at the end, and the whole offense faded too.
We've got all off season. We're going to be breaking down a lot of stuff that both he and Rudolph did do and didn't do, and things that they have to improve on and all. So here's the thing: it's hard to get done what you want to get done offensively when you have a guy like him back there.
Yeah, obviously his flaws, like you said, the pocket presence. I mean, there was one play, I think even on the completion to Dionte Johnson, where he just was backing up in the pocket, little steps, just,
right, bouncing. Drift,
right. Yeah, I mean, it's an obvious issue. The turnovers became, just unreasonable, just too many of them. He's got to take better care of the football, know when to attack downfield, when not to. He's got to be able to read defenses better. I mean, there's a ton of things he's got to work on, but I do see a baseline level of talent. And again, think about, I know it's easy to think about right now and how bad he's looked and how easy it is to write him off, but think about what the reaction, the thought was after the Cardinals game, how high everyone was talking about him, and just keep that perspective that obviously he's not as good as probably he was during that stretch. He's not as bad as he is during the stretch right now. There is a middle ground. I just think there's enough talent to bring him to camp next year and just kind of see at least what the progression is heading into year 2 for him.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, you've got nothing invested in him where I mean, you can't
literally $1,000 signing bonus.
I mean, and you've already lost that in dead money anyway.
Right.
Because you cut him. So I mean, there's no reason not to bring him. To carry him along. So
I guess my point I'm saying is that when he gets to the camp next year, the dude's going to make a couple plays and make you remember, oh, okay, this guy has some talent. That's all I want to say.
Well, I mean, he obviously did something this camp that turned your head, right out of the chute to get you talking about, number 4.
Number
right
6.
Huh?
Number 4 is the quarterback.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Number 4. And injuries obviously dictated that he get brought back and all. I'm not so sure they would have traded Joshua Dobbs though. Had they known all this was going to transpire the way that it did. I mean, you obviously don't go into a deal like that thinking, well, this guy's going to get hurt, this guy's going to get hurt, those kind of things though. But look, I know everybody. Here's the thing: everybody's upset bad at Randy Fichtner right now. I get it, okay. Because it's a results-driven, if you want to look at a results, a results point of view, they didn't get it done. I mean, look, you had one offensive touchdown in 8 of the last 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
You never could run the football. You obviously, I mean, you not once this year did they have 400 total yards in the game. Not once did they. And I think it's a little much to put numbers on. Okay, well they didn't have 400 yards a game, or they didn't have a 300 yard passer. I don't think you can use those as definitive measuring sticks. But you would think at least once during the season you would have to achieve those. Those bars, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I mean, I think people think that once you get a different quarterback, you can go and rearrange this whole offense, on a moment's notice to kind of fit a quarterback. And the fact of the matter is, you got to try to take what's already there and just manipulate it as much as you can without changing too much of it. I mean, look exactly how the Ravens are. They've got quarterbacks that all can kind of run what they do.
Yeah.
I just don't see how people will say, "Oh, it was unimaginative." He didn't do a good job of adapting the offense to guys like Rudolph and Hodges. Look, I mean, you got to at some point you rely on the quarterback to make the reads and make the throws. And with both Rudolph and Hodges, you weren't getting that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we talked about on the previous podcast, I believe, the context that's needed in this season, the difficulty of this year. And I said, how Fichtner 5 years from now is going to look back on 2019 and say, this was my most difficult season to try to manage ever. But in that podcast, we also both agreed he's a below average OC. He's not elevating the play of anybody. And I think that's fair to say. And I think it's fair to call him below average. It's fair to call these quarterbacks below average. It's not either or.
Right. And it's just, I mean, I think you got a turd. You can only polish it so much.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Fichtner, again, we agreed he's a below average offensive coordinator.
Right. He's and I said, no one's going to confuse him with a Shanahan or a McDaniels and McVay or any of that. No. But what did you think about Tomlin's comments about him?
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't catch it, Tomlin apparently, this is from Ian Eagle, the play-by-play announcer, in game, had said that Tomlin said that Fichtner did a fantastic job during the season, which I'm sure irked a lot of Steelers fans. I assume that was in a pre-production meeting. Maybe you're just saying that to say that, and again, I think that's him pointing to the context of how difficult this year's been. It really, Tomlin almost made Fichtner to be almost like a cheerleader of sorts, just saying that Fichtner's done a great job about being optimistic and positive and a can-do attitude, not really talking about the tangible things that he's done. So, I mean, it made me laugh a little bit just to use that phrase for how terrible this offense has been. I kind of get what Tomlin's saying, but I certainly would not use the word fantastic to describe Randy Fichtner.
Is his job safe?
I believe it is, just because of the whole Ben factor. I mean, Ben comes back, the offense looks better, Fichtner is Ben's guy, and you're not going to change OCs for a 38-year-old quarterback with 2 years left that has to relearn a new system.
I guess it would be a little more believable that something like that could happen with the OC if you had someone in-house.
Right. Well, that's what happened to Haley, because they had an in-house option with Fichtner. There is no in-house option now. You can't point to anybody. There's no one.
There is nobody in-house. So what would you do? Go, is Wisenhunt? Mm-hmm. Would you recycle? Yeah. I suppose you could, but I mean, Wisenhunt's kind of got himself now in, when you think of imaginative OCs, do you view Wisenhunt as being that guy?
No, I don't.
No, I mean, you got a bunch of these Wisenhunt, Randy Fichtners out there,
Yeah.
If you had somebody, like I said, if you had somebody in-house, because let's face it, Ben Roethlisberger is going to drive this, for the next 2 years, or at the very least the next year.
Yep.
You obviously he's under contract for the next 2 years, and you would think he's going to ride that out the next 2 years. And if by God, if he wants Randy Fichtner in there, he's going to get Randy Fichtner. I just don't see any way around it, because it's just so hard at this point, once again, to bring somebody in from the outside. To not only, because there would obviously be the initial butting of the heads. That would go on in that, and just generally the first years with new offensive coordinators, generally around the league, just aren't successful years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what the stats are on that, but yeah, I can imagine there'd be some growing pains, and you don't really have time to try to find out if it's the right fit or not. But I will say, even given all the context for Fichtner, which is fair to point out about the lack of talent around him and the revolving door of players that he dealt with all year, I think the stat that kind of really hurts them the most is the Steelers didn't score a touchdown on opening offensive possession the entire season. The only team in the NFL to not have a touchdown on their first drive. In fact, opposing defenses had more points on the Steelers' first drive, 7, than the Steelers had on their first drive, 6 this year. And that comes down to game plan and scripting and having a plan right away.
Execution now, too, but
no, it's part of, yeah. I was getting that. Now, obviously, there's execution factors too, and you can point to games where that was a mistake, but I mean, for an entire season to not have one touchdown, I can't put that all on execution. There's a game plan element to that too, where those are your scripted plays, your first 15, and the Steelers were worse than any other team in that regard.
What was the last time? What was last year that happened? 93?
I didn't see the stat.
I thought they said the last time that I'll have to look and see. Last time they went a full season without scoring on their opening possession. I thought it was like 19. I thought he said 1993. I might be wrong on that now.
I'm sure it's been a while. So again, the other stats to look at how bad this offense was. End the year with only 289 total points, their fewest since '98. Didn't score 28 points in any game this year. That was the first time that's happened since 1971. They averaged 12.4 offensive points per game over their final 8. Held to 10 in their last 3. Just bad across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Dionte Johnson, but when you have a rookie wide receiver lead you in receptions, you know, considering the guys that you started the year with, that's probably not good there. Your leading rusher, you have to go all the way back to, what was it, with the last time you had a leading rusher have as few rushing yards as James Conner did. You had to go back to, what, 1969?
7, Don Shy.
A year before I was born. Don Shy with that. So there's just so many different elements, you know, related to this offense that were miserable. I mean, look, and we're coming off of a year where you had your quarterback throw for 5,000 yards, and you had a red zone percentage just popping your eyes out of your socket. Remember what we were feeling about, you know, midway through last season, you know, when it comes to this offense and all. You know, it just goes to show you how. If anybody learned anything this year, it's don't take Ben Roethlisberger for granted. You know,
Amen to that.
And I think that's the biggest thing a lot of people are having a hard time dealing with here is, you know, I think they just think that you can pull any quarterback here off the street and a good offensive coordinator, and off you go. And that's just not the case, you know. Yeah, they still have, you know, seemingly should have had a better offensive line that they play than they had. The running game should have been a lot better. Look, I'm not so sure that Eddie Faulkner's job safe here. You know. Obviously, you would think that they signed these guys for like 2 years at a time, but I don't think he did that offense any favors with, you know, the way the running backs played for most of the season.
Well, I mean, I will say I think Snell impressed. White came in cold and did well. I think that's usually indicative of good coaching, getting a guy like that ready to play. I think he has talent, but I think just being able to do that off the street, basically in a week turnaround, is a positive thing. And then obviously the injuries, I think it was a difficult spot. I think the bigger concern for coaches is Sean Surratt, because how they ended this year was just unacceptable and terrible. And again, Sunday could not pick up some of these blitz overload looks, did not have an answer, did not have a plan, schematically not there. I mean, Tomlin admitted as much. I don't know why things went so awry at the end of the season.
Well, and look, I mean, we weren't talking about any of these things up until the Bills game.
Right, that's the craziest thing. This was an issue that plagued them all year long. It just popped up at the end of the year, and they could not adjust to it. So I don't know if defenses just found something out and exploited it, and the Steelers couldn't adjust. But either way, that's 3 straight weeks where you couldn't defend the blitz, and that's not acceptable because you did a good job all year long. You got talent. Surratt's been in the building forever. He's longer than Munchak, actually. Like, I don't know how they didn't figure that out.
You know, unfortunately, we're not going to hear from him I don't think, for quite a while. It would be nice, though, to have these guys kind of, you know, a guy like Surratt, you know, he obviously doesn't meet the media much anyway during the year, but have these guys kind of peppered with questions about why, you know, something like that happened in the final, basically, third, you know, quarter of the season.
Hmm.
You know,
Regardless of what the answer is, it's unacceptable.
right, right, I mean, absolutely, and I mean we saw a little bit of it again last night too, but especially
Hmm.
when the defensive backs came. You know,
Yeah.
they're running right by Ramon Foster, you know, untouched, and
Well, there was the one where two guys were free off the left side,
right.
off of Villanueva, and I'm not sure that's on Villanueva, but you got two guys free. I mean, it just was kept getting worse. They could not adjust to it, and that was very frustrating.
And you have your quarterback. How many intentional groundings did he have in
Hmm.
that game? Three,
I
two,
think only the
two.
one was called. Well, I guess the safety, maybe two.
I know there was two for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how many times was he just throwing the football away? I mean,
Hmm.
when you look at how many, I'm trying to intentional groundings count as attempts, right? Yeah. 9 of 25 for 95. How many of those nine? I mean, how many of those other? Let's see, that would be
16.
16. How many of those were just throwing the football away?
Yeah, it's bad enough when your quarterbacks are just struggling in general. Now your quarterback's being pressured. I mean, they just only compound the problem.
9 completions for 95 yards. There were
Yeah.
20 total completions in the game between the two quarterbacks.
Last Steelers quarterback to have 25 plus attempts and fewer than 10 completions. You know who that guy was?
Oh, wow. Woodley? I don't know.
No, Bubby Brister, the guy that
Okay.
Hodges gets compared to more than anybody else. Old number 6. That was in '91, where I think Brister was like 7 for 25 in a win somehow. So, been a while, but again, pressure did not do him any favors. We'll touch on the line a little bit later, but go back to Dionte Johnson since you mentioned him. I mean, a really strong rookie year for him. I mean, 59 receptions, led the team, led the league. I mean, the dude had a good year, and I think played well Sunday again.
Yeah, look for him to finish the way that he did after saying just a couple of weeks ago that he admitted that he had hit the rookie wall. Uh, Phenomenal season.
Hmm.
I think if you would have told me, or well, look, I mean, people were saying, I know right from the get go out of the shoot, and it wasn't that I wasn't high on him. I was just looking at realistically what was there and how they normally bring on rookies. Now, if you would have told me, if you would have guaranteed me at the start of the year that at the end of the year, Dionte Johnson would be close to the rookie record, just a couple catches away from the rookie reception record, and that he would actually lead the team in receptions with whatever the final number was there. I wouldn't
59.
59. I wouldn't have believed you.
Hmm.
Now obviously, I didn't foresee what happened with Dante Moncrief happening. Didn't foresee Juju missing as many games as he missed. Didn't see the quarterback situation going, south the way that it did. But once again, we talked about Benny Snell being a bright spot to kind of close out the season for the Steelers. I think that obviously the same can be said about Dionte Johnson, the way he closed out the season as well too. So look, I mean, he ended up leading all rookies in receptions this year. So that's, I mean, who would have believed that?
Hmm. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
all rookies across the NFL.
right. It was opportunity born out of necessity with everything that happened to Moncrief, but it was probably the best thing for him, best thing for the Steelers to get a look at him. And I got some weird stats for you when it comes to Dionte Johnson. The first Steeler to lead all rookie receivers, just wide receivers in reception since Antoine Randall, who had 47 in 2002. The last time that a rookie, and Dionte Johnson did this year, led all rookies in receptions, as you said. The last time someone did that, Sam Boyd in 1939, 80 years ago. So Dionte Johnson made quite a bit of history for himself this season.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously you had another guy that we talked about during the offseason and both I think kind of liked, and I'm not surprised at all he's going to be a star in the NFL. That Terry
McLaren.
McLaren over with the Redskins, he had to sit out that finale. Had he played, I'm not so sure Dionte beats him out there, but it is what it is, and he did, and look, going back to the, and I'm not sure if maybe we did a hit on this, the Rookie of the Year award. Did we know that Friday or not?
No, I don't think we had talked about
Okay,
it.
well, obviously Devin Bush won the Rookie of the Year award, but I got to be honest with you, I really thought there was a great chance that both of them would be co-winners, and you can make a lot of arguments that Dionte should have won that thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being it was so close, you had a feeling that Devin Bush, and I think I said as much when you put my hand to the fire there, I thought Devin Bush would win it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but you can make a good argument that both of them deserved, co rookie of the year situation there. So yeah, look, I mean, when he catches the ball and secures the ball cleanly, showed that he could do a few things on the punt return, and I think that's the biggest issue with him right now is the ball security aspect with him, not only as a wide receiver, but as a kick returner and a punt returner, and just refining a little bit, better understanding of offense and making sure he works back to the football, all the time. Not just some of the time there, just little things that come along with being a young wide receiver in the league. But yeah, he looks like he's he's going to be your X moving forward.
Yep, the future bright with him. Let me tell you the last thing on him. It tells you how big of a nerd I am. I really wanted that Sam Boyd stat to be accurate. The first rookie first Steelers rookie to lead all rookies in reception since Sam Boyd in 39. And I was getting really nervous because I was watching the Sunday night game and Deebo Samuels and DK Metcalf were right there with him. Metcalf finished with 58 receptions, Deebo with 57. And so Dionte Johnson has the outright lead with 59. But I was getting really nervous on that final Seattle drive saying, don't throw it to Metcalf. Don't throw it to Metcalf.
What method did you go to look to see the last time? What'd you do? Just go year by year to sort who? I'm trying to visualize how you research that one out on Pro Football Reference.
Since the merger, I just put in all Steelers rookies with at least 30 receptions in a year because I figured no one would have less than 30 and lead all rookies in that category. And then pull up the list and then just went year by year to find out who the rookie leaders were there. And then pre-merger, I put in just 20 as the bar. So I just kind of just took about a half hour to research that thing out.
Okay, I was getting ready to say that took some time to search that out.
Yeah, and that's what Stats of the Weird is all about. Yeah, so first Steeler to do it in 80 years, Sam Boyd.
Wow.
He played 1 year, had 21 catches that year in 1939 to lead all rookies. But
where did was Sam Boyd drafted? And where did he play? Where did he play?
I have no idea. I can look that up though. That's a good question. Sam Boyd was drafted in the 6th round of the 1939 NFL draft. He played 2 years technically, but didn't catch a pass in 1940. So those were different times.
What college?
Baylor.
Okay.
According to Pro Football Reference, Texas kid. All right, Dave. Anything else with the offense? It was miserable. I can kind of turn the page on them, turn the page on this whole year about that group.
Yeah, this offensive line won't be kept together in its current state. There'll be a change or two.
And most likely that change will come with Ramon Foster, I'm guessing is what you're getting at?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's time. I think, that it's that. Look, we come out of every year saying, well, Ramon was Ramon. Good old reliable, nondescript, I guess, if you will, Ramon, Mr. Consistent. He wasn't this year. I think in the final half of the season, he really didn't look like his usual self. And with what he's going to get paid, and Father Time has got him. Right now, you know what? He knows it too.
Yeah, he made comments.
You look at his comments after the game. He knows it.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on what he said? What reporters asked me when to grab it.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead and rattle it. You got it right there?
Yeah. Ramon Foster articles on Steelers Depot. Some reporters asking about, could he be released? What are his thoughts on that? Foster said, quote, "I know the reality of this. If they're going to release me, just tell me while I'm in Tennessee. Don't wait. That's all I'd say. Don't waste my time." It's according to Brian Batko from Jacob Klinger. Foster says he'd be open to playing for another team, so he doesn't want to retire. It doesn't sound like Foster says, quote, "Right team, right paycheck, anything is possible." I want to go back through the tape and look at it again. I know there was a lot of ugliness on there, especially that Jets game was particularly rough for Ramon Foster and rough for the offensive line in general the last 3 weeks of the season. But releasing him would not be surprised, and I think if they do that, the best move would be to kick Filer from right tackle to left guard and have a core four or Banner battle to be your starting right tackle in 2020.
Yeah, you're not going to get an argument out of me on that one whatsoever. And kind of weird to hear him go that route right after the game, isn't it?
Well, I think he was asked about it. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
That
but
sounds like
I didn't kind of like his. Well, they need to tell me. I didn't like the phrasing, I guess, if you will, for especially somebody that's been knows the Steeler way as long as you know. There's no need to come out and say, well, they don't need to leave me hanging. They need to just come out and tell me, and I'm not opposed to playing elsewhere. In so many words, obviously I'm paraphrasing there, but look, I mean, if he does come back, Alex, he better go through one of those Marcus Gilbert transformations.
I think he's a little too late in his career to be slimming down like that.
He needs to lose some weight. If he's going to play, I gotta be honest with you. I don't see another team, even Munchak or in Denver. I don't see any team in general going after him for what he's making, anywhere close to what he's making now, if he is released. To be honest with you, I mean, look, he's never been for whatever reason, he's never been a super popular guy. It doesn't seem come time that he's had chances to almost test free agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
he's never been a high dollar guy for his consistent of play. And there has been a year or two in there where I thought, man, maybe Ramon deserves Pro Bowl or whatnot. This definitely wasn't that season. I just personally, I got to wonder if Ramon Foster may have played his last snap.
Yeah, I don't know. I suspect he hasn't. Whether that's in Pittsburgh or somewhere else is a much more debatable question. But yeah, his roster spot, his future in Pittsburgh, when his whole career's been spent in Pittsburgh since 2009, it certainly potentially is coming to an end. All right, Dave, let's move over to the defense now, and just an ugly note to end on. Again, this was a great defense the entire season, but they got gashed against the run, their fits, their alignments, their tackling, all of that was poor. And you knew Baltimore was going to run the football, and I suppose it doesn't really matter because this team was eliminated. Tennessee won anyway, so it doesn't matter what Pittsburgh did or didn't do Sunday, but a sour note to go out on.
Yeah, they just they were going through the motions. They they looked like they didn't want to be in that one. Because they knew what was coming. I tell you, they didn't look like they looked forward to it. In the rain, miserable. You know you're going to get a dose of really a relatively fresh Edwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
For all practice, and a guy looking to make a little bit of a mark to close out the season here on his end. We talked about it during the week. You know what's coming. It's not like you don't know what's coming, and they still couldn't stop it. There's some bad fits in there, missed tackles in there. It was just a mess, and as much as I hated, normally I really look excited. Am excited about post game, about at least getting that first rewatch in. I wasn't excited to do that last night. And I'm not going to be excited to. I mean, when we finally get the end zone view of some of these plays, it's not going to be pretty.
No, it's going to be as bad as it's looked all year long. And the game plan was interesting because they were going after RG3 on every single snap, even those option plays.
They were knocking the mess out of him. I mean, you could tell that the idea was to attack the mesh point and then go through it.
Yeah, and it's a breakdown I'm probably going to do a little later this week. It's called the mesh charge. It's an idea that's been used against Greg Roman defense or offenses before, against when he was there in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick, where your goal is that unblocked defender is you go after the quarterback every single time. You're in a straight line, you're not reading the play, you're just going after the quarterback, trying to freeze him or at least hit him if he hands the ball off. And that was the approach the Steelers took, and I'm sure the Ravens players were not happy with that because Griffin took some shots and they got chippy late in the game. But that was the approach, to just try to go after, hit Griffin, make him give the football, which he did, and then he gave the football to Gus Edwards, who ran for $130 on Pittsburgh.
Did you agree with them going that route instead of playing more like they played against Lamar?
It's an interesting approach. Obviously, it's hard to say it worked too well because it didn't, but I understand the idea, and I'm interested to look at the all-22 some more.
Boy, even late in the game, you got to get. They carried through it all throughout the game.
Yeah, Ravens players are mad about that.
It was noticeable, especially when it was Bud Dupree.
Watt was hitting them early,
right? But
and Watt hit him for the roughing the passer. That little elbow at him.
I mean, it was real noticeable with Bud Dupree, on several of those plays. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then that's why you saw RG3 as animated as he was. That's why they were throwing the football with 30 seconds left, up multiple
Right.
scores. That was them trying to get some revenge and saying, "You guys want to hit me? Well, we'll go ahead and we're not going to make life easy on you either."
I suppose that's probably played into that that fourth down fake punt too,
hmm
right?
Yeah. Hey, I'm not mad about it though. You
Hey,
got to stop him.
all's fair in love and war, right?
Yeah, if you're beating down a team like that, you can't complain. You're the ones getting your butt kicked. Do better. And the Steelers didn't. And defensively, Mark Barron, Terrell Edmonds. Edmonds has been a good tackler this year, but the sight of little tiny Justice Hill running over Terrell Edmonds at the goal line, that kind of sums up how disappointing of a year it's been for Terrell Edmonds.
He was the leader in total tackles up until the final week, wasn't he?
I think he was neck and neck with Devin Bush. Bush finished with more ultimately.
Right. I mean, Bush obviously finished with 109, which, by the way, 109, he led all rookies in tackles
Wow.
this year. And first time the Steelers have had, rookie finish, I think 100 or more tackles, obviously, as well, too, there. So, obviously a lot of stuff for Devin Bush to look back and learn on. But I mean, as a whole, a good report card, I think, for him. We'll see. I mean, there's going to be some nasty fits by him, I think, in this one.
hmm
When we look, I mean, but not just him, all the way
Yeah.
across the board here. So I think when we grade this one out, it's not going to be a great game for, even though he had 12 total tackles, set a season high, to close out the season. I think a lot of these were kind of well past the line, if you
hmm
will. Not all tackles are created equal, if you will. But yeah, I mean, look, if you're not going to be a splash player like Edmonds and not make splash plays, you better be a good damn tackle as a box safety. And he missed a few in this game against the Ravens there, and that's not going to look too good at him. But look, I mean, how many years are you into him now? 2?
Yep.
I
2 years.
mean, they're not going to dump him just yet, you know. I know a lot of people say, well, we need to draft another safety early. Yeah, good luck with that. That's not going to happen. Now, do you need to probably go out and see if you can get one off the scrap heap to back him up? A little bit younger, possibly. But and the good thing is normally those strong safety types off the pile don't cost a lot during free agency though. But I don't think they're ready to give up on him totally.
No, but they do need a backup safety. They need a third guy because they don't have anyone resembling really a third guy on this roster for dime purposes, for injury purposes, at free or strong.
Right. Well, where are you going to get him?
Probably the draft. I mean, you could do free agency. I haven't looked at a list, but I just know you need somebody, so they're going to add a safety to that room, not to replace Edmonds, but they will add somebody
Right.
somewhere.
Right. I mean, but where are you most likely to get a good alternative? If you don't get him in the first 3 rounds of the draft.
Well, I think you could see it somewhere, third, fourth round in the draft, and yeah, maybe free agency. I don't know what the avenue is going to be, but I know they will add somebody.
Yeah, they will.
Rest of the defense, actually speaking of Devin Bush, he had that drop interception that could have maybe changed the tide in that game yesterday, but still a really productive year for Devin Bush. Some other bright spots defensively, the very few that existed. T.J. Watt trying to cement his case as a defensive player of the year, still battling Shaq Barrett, who had a great game yesterday, Gilmore, Donald, Chandler Jones, you guys know the names, but Watt with a half sack, a forced fumble, several tackles. I mean, he may not win defensive player of the year, though he would get my vote. He's going to be right up there.
It's going to be interesting. I got a bad feeling about this.
In the sense he won't win it.
Yeah. How do you feel about it?
I don't get a good feeling from this stuff. I mean, I just go in with really no expectation. Here are his final stats, though, in 2019. This is as convincing case as I can make. 55 tackles, 36 quarterback hits, 14 and a half sacks, 14 tackles for loss, 8 forced fumbles, 7 pass deflections, 4 fumble recoveries, 2 interceptions in one season. An absurdly good year for TJ Watt.
Yeah, the only thing is, man, looking at some of these other guys on, a little bit ahead of him in the sack category, we all know that a lot of these guys don't watch all the film on all these guys. They'll just go straight to the stats on most of them. My boy Shaquille Barrett, 19 and a half sacks, Uh, you know, 6 forced fumbles, I think, with him. Chandler Jones, 19 sacks. You want to talk about a guy that had as many forced fumbles as Watt? I think he had 8. He had 3 fumble recoveries on top of it, just right there with Watt in total tackles as well, too. Both these guys playing for non-playoff teams, right? And then you
Right.
got Shaquille Barrett playing for a non-playoff team as well. There are a lot of reasons. Look, he easily was, in my opinion, defensive MVP or MVP in general for the Steelers. I think that's obvious there. Uh, is he going to get Defensive Player of the Year? I'm worried that he's not.
Well, I know most people, or at least some people, are saying, well, the Steelers didn't make the playoffs, so you can't give the guy the award. Well, as you said, Jones in Arizona, Barrett in Tampa
Somebody's
Bay.
probably going to win it that's not.
Right, Donald in L.A. I mean, the only guy that really is in the running is Gilmore in New England. So that argument, I don't think holds a lot of water. And well, I think obviously Barrett and Jones had great years. Jones been doing this forever and just putting up monster numbers. I don't know if they have the exposure or the name value that a T.J. Watt does, and I think that may sway some voters who don't watch this stuff too closely in Watt's direction.
Well, maybe because of the name. He
Hmm.
does have the name
Right.
recognition there.
How many voters do you think really watched Tampa Bay and Shaq Barrett this year?
Well, how many? Yeah, that's true. That's why I said
Right.
you are dealing with the factor too that I think a lot of them might just go straight to the stats. Now, voting well in Watt's favor is his last name.
Right. So I think he's got a good chance. And the dude has 15 career forced fumbles. That's more than Troy Polamalu had in his entire career. Watson in 47 games. This is a special player. The ceiling is obviously the limit for him. Just a fantastic season.
Right. I mean, look, I think you can make a strong argument for him winning it, but I'm not going to be surprised if Barrett Jones or Cameron Jordan. I don't think Jordan will win it. I just don't think there's enough there with Cameron Jordan. I don't think. Do you think Stephon Gilmore? I mean, Parker ran him around. Devontae Parker gave it to Stephon Gilmore yesterday.
Yeah.
Now that's one game, last game of the season, but it was a game that the Patriots really needed.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be either Gilmore or Watt. That's my guess.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I think either you Gilmore and you're going to say the whole playoff thing and then the Patriots defense, probably the best defense in football this year, or you're going to go with Watt. That's my just baseless gut feeling.
Okay.
Who do you think who you leaning towards?
I mean, is obviously one of these rushers. I think it's going to be Barrett, Jones, or Watt.
Yeah, I just don't know if people when you say Shaq Barrett. I think he's had a great year and is he deserving of it? I mean, certainly, I think he's up there, but I don't know if the voters are going to see that in the same way because he's Shaq Barrett and not a huge household name.
Right. He's going to make a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Yeah. To the NFL, he's going to get paid. When do they announce the winners for these? Is this around Pro Bowl time?
Don't they announce this at ESPY time?
Is it? I have no idea. So I'm asking if you knew.
I think it's around. I think we got to.
Well, when are the ESPYs? Is it still a while? Because I don't know when anything is.
Yeah. When are the ESPYs?
All right. Well, so it's going to be a couple weeks, I guess, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to find out in the next week.
It's around the week of the Super Bowl, isn't it during that dead week of the Super Bowl?
That sounds about right. That's yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was saying. Pro Bowl time is kind of where I thought that these awards get handed out. But we'll let you know. I think he's got a shot, and will it happen? I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Anything else with the defense? Again, it was bad yesterday. Again, I think the team was just worn down and just kind of knew the writing was on the wall. They saw the scoreboard. Tennessee was up on Houston almost the entire game, so it made what the Steelers did moot anyway. And so that's the season.
Let's see. Mark Barron's gone, right?
I'm not as certain about it as I was before, but I still think there's certainly good odds that he will go. He ended the year better than how he started it. I do want to point that out.
Yeah, I think you just had a recent post about that as well too. I mean, look, he did do some things in those last couple of games, but then there were a couple things that he didn't do in this game.
Yeah, he was bad, but everyone was
bad.
Yes, everyone was bad yesterday. I mean, but I mean, to start in terms of the easy guy that's gone is Anthony Chickillo. Like he's got to go.
Right, Anthony, and he's not a starter, and he's what he's scheduled to make is just not. No, you can't make any argument for Chickillo to stay. I think Mark Barron's gone. beginning of the season, if you ask me about Ramon. In fact, I think I wrote that in my what did I write about Ramon Foster in my set. Let's see how kind of close I was in my preseason kind of salary cap or mid-season. How many weeks ago was it that I wrote that? You remember?
No, I don't remember really anything about what you were writing about with Ramon Foster, but I think Foster has a good chance. I'm not gonna stamp it and say 100%, but certainly a good chance, probably I'd say higher than 50% that he gets released. Chicolo's got to be 100% released. Barron, I think, is maybe a coin toss at this point, and those are going to be your big kind of cost cutting attempts or moves to make. So
here's what I wrote on October 31st. Wide receiver Dante Moncrief could be gone as early as next week as the team is calculated to recoup a 2003 round compensatory draft pick. In doing so, obviously he's out the door. Outside linebacker Anthony Chicolo and inside linebacker Mark Barron are two other current Steelers under contract for 2020 who are almost certain to be gone by next March. Cutting both would free up $10.25 million in 2020 salary cap space, combined cutting Moncrief, Chicolo, and Barron by the start of the new league year in March would free up a much-needed $14.25 million in 2020 salary cap space prior to roster displacement. Next line, I got Foster and Alualu decisions. I'm not ready to advocate the Steelers parting ways with guard Ramon Foster and defensive end Tyson Alualu next offseason. However, such discussions probably need to be had immediately after the 2019 season ends, and especially when it comes to the latter. I had Alualu in there at that time. Foster is set to earn $4 million. Alualu is set to earn $2.75 million. Technically, those two players have extremely low salaries based on their experience and what they offer the team, so that's why the discussions to cut either would be difficult ones to have. This goes to show you how where Alualu really turned it on at this point. Alualu is the easier of the two to cut because he's a backup, and also because young defensive end Isaiah Buggs should be expected to fill in his shoes in 2020 at a much lower cost. Cutting Foster could potentially result in the Steelers maybe keeping center guard B.J. Finney in 2020 and beyond, as he's scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent in March of 2020. If Finney is kept, it will likely be with him being the new starting left guard. And then I have to end up that paragraph. See the predicament? ? Since then, Alualu showed up in his last. I'm not so sure Alualu won't be one of the highest graded players on defense after this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There won't be many high grades in this game, so I mean, maybe it just had a default. But yeah, Lulu played really well at the end of the year. I'm not looking to cut him because A, you're not saving much money. I mean, and B, you're likely to lose Hargrave. Tua coming off injury. Let's not gut that entire room. So I think Lulu comes back, and Foster's job is very much in question.
Yeah, so at the time I was writing, well, Lulu's probably not as safe as Foster, and this was October 31st. Well, now it's the other way around.
Yeah,
for sure.
Dave, to go to special teams to close out this game, Boswell was excellent again, and that's about all you can say in terms of praising special teams. No kicker missed more kicks, field goals, and extra points than Chris Boswell last year. No kicker missed fewer kicks, field goals, and extra points than Chris Boswell this year. So fantastic year for him. Jordan Berry, about the worst month stretch of punters ever had, just from bad to worse to ugly. Yeah, and then it all kind of fell apart at the end for the entire unit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you have to. I mean, I know you're a Danny Smith fan, but you have to kind of wonder.
I don't know. I mean, I'll have to review it. Like I said, I don't want to make any conclusions about anybody right now, but to have Boswell bounce back, which granted a lot about it is just him and him playing well, but Smith's helping him get there. Barry was having a great season until this last month. You got some juice in the punt return game. You cut down on penalties. I don't know. I'm still in favor of keeping Danny Smith probably, but I do want to kind of take a step back and look at this group and let you know a little later on in the offseason.
If there's going to be a coordinator change, I think it's him, to be honest with you.
No, I will agree with that because I don't think Fichtner's going anywhere. I think Butler's contract, I assume, is expiring, but I think they'll bring him back. If there was a coordinator change, it's probably Smith more likely than anybody else, but it would almost feel like one of those changes just to make a change, and you've been 8-8 for 2 years, and you're just trying to shake things up.
if for some reason Butler's not retained, you would think that Terrell Austin, you know, it would only be because of that kind of move. And look, I mean, I guess you could, I guess if he was up to it, you could just demote Butler and keep him as a, say, look, you're not going to be defensive, you're not going to own the title. And look, we don't even know how much he's actually calling the defense right now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how big a hand does some of these things we just don't know. On a play-by-play basis. When it comes to calling the defense. So, I guess I could envision in a scenario where Butler's basically demoted back to outside linebackers coach and Terrell Austin takes over the defense.
Yeah, I think that's pretty unlikely.
I think it's an extreme, but I could envision it. It's the only way that anything would happen defensively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Now, offensively, we talked about no in-house candidates or anything like that. I just don't envision anything happening there. Special teams wise, I mean, you could go get somebody off the street, and bring in. Now, obviously, Danny Smith's been there, quite a few years now. If there was a change, I expect it to be him.
Yeah, if you
I would change it anyway. To be honest with you, it just hadn't been
really?
enough there personally. But I mean, I'm open to looking at the arguments that you present.
Yeah. And again, I need to look at it too. But the coverage units were excellent this year. I don't know where they ranked exactly, but I mean, they didn't allow any really kind of big returns this year. I can't think of any. Nothing that killed you.
Right. I mean,
And
Boswell, like the game against San Diego or Los Angeles last year, and
yeah, Boswell had a great year again. Barry was having a historically good year until the last month, and some of that stuff. I mean, there was the fake punt miscommunication. There was him just dropping this punt Sunday. I mean, that's not on Danny Smith for Barry not handling the snap. It was rainy. I get all that, but I mean, that's not on Danny Smith. So, but I mean, he has his flaws too, and I've pointed it out, and we'll take a look at it a little bit later in the offseason.
What was discouraging, kicking from their own 47 to have that one go in the end zone yesterday for a net of what did the net end up
33,
yeah.
I think. Not good enough.
I mean, look, at least you made the decision to keep a guy like Johnny Holton throughout the year. I think he did okay. I mean, he had a nice downing of a punt in that game yesterday there. Obviously, Tyler Matakevich, for every year that he's been in Pittsburgh, has led the team in special teams tackles. I think you had a nice emergence of Spillane. Spillane, once he was promoted up to the 53. Why do I keep wanting to call him Spillman? But he performed well once he got up to the 53 there, and if you lose Dirty Red, I mean that's going to be a guy that's going to be in prime area to make this team as a true core guy,
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to get Gilbert III back next year too, because he'll slide into that role.
Right, he's another guy that you're gonna you hope that you're gonna be able to. And look, the Steelers are known for this kind of stuff. Have a guy for 2 or 3 years, be their special team ace, and then on to the next one. And 9 times out of 10, those are usually inside linebacker types.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I go back to the old Clint Friedwald days, Patrick Bailey to Matakevich. You guys know some of the names there. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Matakevich. I'd love to bring Matakevich back. I mean, he should be cheap, but maybe he wants to try to go somewhere with maybe in theory, a better opportunity to play on defense because he won't get it in Pittsburgh.
I think it could be one of those Fort situations, where I mean, not obviously he's not as athletic, defensively speaking, not as much of a plus as say Fort was from a defensive aspect, but there might be a team out there willing to pay him a little bit above minimum for like a 2-year contract, put a little bit more money in his pocket to be their special teams ace.
Yeah, that's possible.
That's possible. Now, obviously, if you could get him to come back on a minimum deal, it doesn't hurt to do that. Bring him to camp. Can you get him for a 2-year deal and pay him just enough over in a bonus where it puts a little bit more money in his pocket for at least one, what I'm getting at. Sign him to a 2-year deal where he'd pocket maybe $1 million in 2020.
Right. Yeah, I'm all for it. We'll see what happens with him, but that is a free agent that should be worth mentioning because he's not a top name guy like Dupree or Hargrave, but certainly someone that again no one has more special teams tackles since entering the league than Tyler Matakevich.
You
So
know,
he's been really
bless his
consistent.
heart, he won the damn fan vote side of it. You know,
Right. It should be should be.
not that it means not that it counts for a whole hell of a lot, but people, look to win that aspect of it, and then still not, and to have the stats to back it up to warrant you winning that, and then still not get the recognition from the coaches. I mean, look, Matthew Slater, I get it, I guess, but even so, he's a damn good special teamer. People wonder every year why you guys keep Matakevich and guys like Chicolo, on your 53-man roster. A, it's not us keeping them; it's us predicting what's going to happen, and we know
Mhm.
just the way the Steelers value special teams players, and that's why those guys show up on our 53-man rosters.
Yeah, exactly, Dave. All right, that wraps up the season basically. Anything else from this game you wanted to touch on? Or did you want to start looking at kind of this thing a little bit broader?
Yeah, I guess we should kind
Yeah.
of start uh, looking a little bit more broader here.
The way I look at the season is that, when Ben went down in the Seattle game 6 quarters into the year, if you told me this team would finish the year 8-8, I'd go, okay, that makes sense. You lose Ben, I get it. But the way it happened, when you're 8-5, you were in a position where you're right there for the playoffs. You got to win basically one more game, and man, you're in this thing. And then the collapse at the end of the year, just in the way it played out last year, where you were 7-2-1, and you collapse. This year 8-5, and you collapse. That makes it really difficult. Where you say 8-8 wasn't acceptable. When you look back at how you got to 8-8, and that's what really kills me.
Yeah, I don't think you can say yeah, but
Right.
on this because I mean, look head of that Buffalo game. I held my hand to the fire and I held yours to the fire too. Said, is this team going to make the playoffs?
hmm Yeah, you made me look bad, Dave. Why'd you do that?
Well, I thought they were too.
All right. But I
Uh,
think
and,
most people thought they would.
and I thought I said at the time too. Since then, it was going to. Now that we've gotten to this point, it will be a huge disappointment if they don't make the playoffs. Okay. Now, was it all done smoke and mirrors and relying on a defense? Yeah. But I mean, that's who they were. The identity of this team, really, after turning the corner. I don't know. I guess first Bengals game, or what have you. Uh, we came to the understanding real quick, after Minka arrived in town, that look, this is a team that's gonna play good defense, week in, week out. Try not to turn the football, try not to kill themselves offensively, and they're able to string together some wins along the way to do that. Uh, the whole thing against Cleveland in that first meeting, I think really affected Mason Rudolph more so than maybe what people probably imagine. It was good at least to see him bounce back in that game against the Jets and kind of, even though he got placed on IR and suffered another injury, at least he kind of sort of ended the year on a positive note there. But I don't think there's any way that you can frame what happened in the final 3 games of this season anything other than a disappointment. And yeah, I get rookie undrafted free agent quarterback, blah, blah, blah. But this team was in prime position to at least make the playoffs. And the conversation. It seems like such a dream just a few weeks ago that we're talking about. Hey, maybe Mike Tomlin deserves uh, to be coach of the year. Coach of the year, and I did preface that by saying he needs to win at least one playoff game.
hmm
Playoffs, but and obviously they didn't get that done. But yeah, I don't think there's any way to look at this from the final, from the final quarter mark of the season on as a disappointment, based on what all had transpired up until then.
I'm with you. I'm certainly not advocating for a coaching change. I know some will. I'm not going to go there for Mike Tomlin, but I will say I think the whole didn't have a losing season argument is the worst one you could present for any coach, even for Mike Tomlin. The Steelers don't hang banners for 8-8 seasons. They don't have a trophy case for non-losing seasons. This is a team with the expectation to go to the playoffs, to win the division, to make a Super Bowl run. And I know that was unlikely to happen this year, but to be 8-8, yeah, it'll go in the stat book as the non-losing season, but that's not good enough in Pittsburgh. Not right.
Now, how will I look back in my old age at this 2019 season, or how would I title the every year they release the year in review kind of CD or they don't even make a
CD. Oh, yeah. The old Walkman from the Pittsburgh 2019 day. All right.
Now, what am I trying to say? To recap,
yeah, the DVD, the off-season year in review.
Yeah, the year in review. My title of it would be probably too long to use, but I mean,
How long? What do you mean by the title would be too long?
It would be what if Ben Roethlisberger hadn't got injured and the Miami Dolphins still would have traded Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Steelers.
Yeah,
year in review.
Mine would just be a offensive offense. That'd be my title of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you go, but I mean, what if Ben would have stayed healthy? But then you do have to wonder, would the Dolphins still have traded Minkah Fitzpatrick? I mean, we don't know.
Probably not. I don't know, but I doubt that they would.
We don't know for sure whether they would have or not. Yeah, there are reports out there that they could potentially have gotten first rounder from other teams and yada. But the fact of the matter is we just don't know. And how would the season would have gone had they had Roethlisberger but not had Minkah Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I struggle with trying to answer that if they'd be in a different place. I mean, you think that they would, but
you obviously think the offense would have been a lot better than what it was.
Sure.
But how much would that have been offset on the defensive side of football? How many more points? It's a hypothetical that, I mean, it's not worth spending a lot of time on, obviously, but it does make you wonder. I'll always look back at this season and say, man, if only they would have had Roethlisberger to go along with this defense. So, I really think they could have done a lot of damage. Now, here's the thing. You would think you have two more bites of this apple left.
Right.
Okay. And obviously we have to see how Ben comes back from this elbow injury and all like that. They should do everything in their power to try to keep as much of this defense together. You're obviously probably going to lose a guy like Javon Hargrave. We're going to be talking about Bud Dupree from now until the start of the new league year in March, maybe slightly before that, because of when the franchise tag is due and things like that. But if they do everything they can to keep a large portion of this defense together, and you're going to have changes. I mean, we see every year a bottom third of this roster gets churned, and it's not going to be any different this year. But if they can keep a good portion of this defense together and get Roethlisberger back and make a few key changes on offense, you have to think that this team in 2020 will be able to compete as long as they don't have the injury things that they had happen this year.
Yeah, I'm with you totally, and they will keep this defense together. They will keep the core together. They will have Joe Hayden. They will have Steven Nelson. They will have Minkah Fitzpatrick and Devin Bush and Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt and Stephon Tuitt coming back healthy. I mean, they will keep all those core players together, and I think they will find a way to ultimately be able to retain Dupree in some form or fashion. So they will have this core group together with Ben. So I know you asked the question, what would have happened if you had Ben and Minkah? Well, we'll find out in 2020 because both those guys are going to be Pittsburgh Steelers.
Right. I mean, they are. You would think, barring significant injury or Ben not being able to throw the damn football anymore for whatever reason, you would think that this team should be one of the favorites in the AFC to come out of there.
Yeah, it'll be a real fun battle with Baltimore because they're going to be relatively unchanged too. It's going to be a real strong division. You got some really good quarterback players, assuming that Joe Burrow becomes a Cincinnati Bengal with the first overall pick. Real quick with Minkah, to kind of put that trade in perspective now that we kind of have some more information. The Steelers basically traded the 2020 18th overall pick for Minka Fitzpatrick, which is a deal I think anyone would make based on the results you got from Fitzpatrick.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So but it was 18th overall is what the Dolphins ultimately got from Pittsburgh, just to kind
Right.
of put that out there.
And I guess that means the Steelers technically are on the clock at number 50 overall.
Is that what it is?
Is that what it is? I mean, 18 overall and then add 18 on the 32 is 50, right?
Oh, math. Too much math to start, but that sounds about right. So they'll be picking 50th. And, yeah, it'd be weird not to have a first-round pick. First time since 67, so a long, long time.
Is there any way you can imagine being that far? I mean, you're 18 picks out of the first round on top of. I mean, there's nothing that leads you to believe or envision that this team will do anything to deal to get back into the first round, right?
No, who could you even possibly trade to get back in the first round?
Yeah,
They don't have the capital.
I don't view that as a possibility.
Unless you're trading another future first-round pick to do it.
Right.
But I don't see that happening. All right, Dave. I do want to mention one other thing before we start getting to some emails and wrapping up the show. The Steelers, I think there's a really, really high chance of this that they're going to end up on Hard Knocks in the summer of 2020. They're going to be eligible for it. You're going to have Ben coming back. It's rare for Pittsburgh to be eligible for these types of things, so I fully expect the cameras to be at Latrobe in the summer.
That's why I wrote about it first thing last night, and why I tweeted about it. Kind of even dating. It's not the first time that I've kind of put it on my Twitter feed before, either. I gotta tell you, I would be shocked if they're not.
Yep, I think lock them in. I think you lock them in now.
I think you do. If you don't already subscribe to HBO, you got plenty of time to get that worked into your household budget for for 2020. But do you think the league is going to miss an opportunity to get the Steelers on Hard Knocks? I don't. And look, there are people say, well, I've gotten a lot of this on my Twitter feed since last night. Oh, Rooney will never let that happen, or Tomlin will never let that happen. They don't have a choice, folks.
Yep. To go through the criteria of what makes you eligible for Hard Knocks.
All right, what makes you eligible? All right, as long as you don't have a first-year head coach. All right, check. Have you been on the show in the last 10 years?
Check.
All right, and have you missed the playoffs 2 years in a row?
Check, unfortunately, painfully.
Yeah, so there you go. That's your checklist, and I think by the time you boil that check, look, the Giants were potentially a team that could have been considered up until this morning.
Yep, they fired their head coach.
They fired Schumer, so they're gone.
The Cowboys they're gonna fire Jason Garrett, so they're not gonna be the team.
Right, the Cowboys. So I think if I've done my math correctly in this post, I think you're down to the Steelers, the Cardinals, the Broncos, and the Detroit Lions. Did I miss anything?
I haven't looked at the list, but I trust that. I don't know if there's overlap here, but the Cardinals were just on that All or Nothing, which I think is a different company, but I don't know if the NFL is going to redo the Cardinals because they just did the Cardinals, or someone did the Cardinals at least, and so that leaves you with Denver and Detroit and Pittsburgh, and I think Pittsburgh's the easy choice out of that group. Just from a ratings perspective, like what's going to draw the ratings? Of course, it's going to be the Steelers.
Of course, it's going to be the Steelers, and people say that Rooney will never let that happen. A few years, 5.5 years ago, Rooney was asked about possible appearance on Hard Knocks, and he says that would likely happen at some point in the future. Well, the future is, what's that gift that you like to post? Future.
Squidward. Yeah.
It's here. And Tomlin was asked a few years ago at training camp how he would go about dealing with this team being on Hard Knocks should such a time ever come. He says, I just avoid the parameters that get you into that discussion. And then he quickly says, what are the parameters? And then he was told that he could avoid being on Hard Knocks by just winning year in and year out. And Tomlin's response was somewhat predictable. Yeah, exactly. The parameters that get you into that discussion are not good ones. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about Hard Knocks. I definitely don't set my DVR for it.
Well, get ready.
The parameters that got you into the discussion are here, and I will color me shocked if they're not chosen. We should find out probably around June. But you know what? They ought to go ahead and make the announcement now.
Yep. I think 99% chance the Steelers will be chosen. So it'll be cool though to get that look behind the veil because the Steelers are very close to the vest team. They don't do a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff in general, unlike a lot of teams. So it'll be a new perspective on looking at these guys.
I told my wife about this last night and kind of set it all up. I said, you know what? I said I'm going to be a little bit busier than normal come training camp next year and all because of this. And all she said, well, you normally watch Hard Knocks anyway. I said, yeah, but it will create more work.
You will be doing like Zapruder film diagnosis frame by frame of the show, trying to look in the background at paperwork.
Well, look, you'll probably be on it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you can see me.
We're gonna play Where's Alex? Because obviously you'll be there for all of them and all the training camp practice and all. But look, I mean, like it or not, it's a distraction.
Oh yeah, it's not good for the team. There's no benefit for the team. It might not hurt you, but it's either gonna hurt you or have no effect. It's not gonna help you.
It's good for a fan. From fans will love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll do absolutely. I don't know what you didn't watch. You didn't watch the Oakland one. You don't watch them, do you?
Yeah, well, I don't have HBO. I think it's on Game Pass somewhere, but I'm gonna be one of those guys having to subscribe to HBO this summer. I have to call my cable provider. So I watch it casually, but this will obviously be like the first time I've really watched it, in depth.
Well, look, the one we all really, or at least I was really looking forward to the one with the Raiders. I was really disappointed overall.
Yeah, the good news is that the team does get to control basically what gets shown and what doesn't. They basically have cutting room floor authority, but still cameras are going to show something.
Right, and I think Kevin Colbert even said in the past, look, some of those things like cutting players just they don't believe in showing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you're going
I agree.
I don't think you're going to get any of that. So, but from a fan aspect, the fans are going to, they'll really be looking forward to it next summer. And Alex and I both think that's going to be the case. You want to talk about some opponents next year?
Yeah, that Steeler fans love that stuff. I think that was like our most popular post on Steelers Depot yesterday is finding out who the 2020 opponents are. So run through them.
And the thing is we've known who we've known who 11 of them are going to be forever. I mean, look, folks, this is a rotating schedule that they use, so it's not a secret with most of these teams on a year-to-year basis. There now, there were up until I think last week 2 unknowns as far as they would play the corresponding finisher in the AFC East and the AFC West. We knew, I think, as of last week that the Buffalo Bills would be the team in the AFC East. Would be one of the 2 that we did not know. And as of yesterday, we now know who the final team is, and that will be the Denver Broncos. So the teams that the Steelers will play at home in 2020, Denver, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Houston, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, and Washington. How many of them teams are going to have new head coaches there? Washington and Cleveland. Oh, we forgot. Freddie Kitchens fired. We've got to mention that. Big surprise?
No, needed to be done. One and done Freddie. Right move. He was just in over his head.
What is it with that franchise, man?
Is John Dorsey going to be safe? I think it sounds like he's going to be safe.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he is.
But yeah, I don't know. But thank God for them for being terrible because that roster should be so much better. They should be so much more competitive than they were.
You've got to go get, and I think there's a report that they're wanting to talk to Josh McDaniels, right, out there this morning. I'm not sure he's a good fit, to be honest with you. I think Josh McDaniels is one of those guys that's just a good damn coordinator.
Didn't he fail in Denver?
Yeah.
The head coach, retread there. Yeah, he was the head coach 09 to 10. So, anyway, opponents.
Well, let me tell you, I finish my thought on this. I think they ought to go after an established guy like a Mike McCartney or Ron Rivera.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think McCarthy's going to Carolina and Rivera sounds like he's going to be in Washington.
Yeah, it's possible.
That's what it sounds
like. I think I would make a strong push for either one of those 2.
Yeah,
I think they need a hard-nosed kind of, someone with some experience there. If I'm Cleveland,
I'm with you.
But the away opponents that the Steelers will have in 2020, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Dallas, and the Giants. So the furthest west that they will play would be, I guess, Tennessee, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, not a lot of travel this year, or next year, I guess I should say. And some new head coaches, too, with the Giants and presumably the Cowboys.
Right.
And Cleveland again.
And what about Jacksonville? Possibly, is Jacksonville going to have a new
Oh,
head coach?
yeah. I think Marone's the only guy that's in limbo right now, where it's been reports he's going to be fired, some reports that he isn't. So, yeah, good point there. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Doug Marone in Jacksonville.
So combined, when you look at the teams that made the playoffs that the Steelers will play in 2020, you of course have the Ravens, the Texans, the Eagles, the Titans, and the Bills.
Yep. So 5 teams. And then Baltimore, obviously, you can see them twice. So, yeah, I don't have much of a reaction to schedule stuff because, projecting that stuff's impossible. But fans love it, so there you go.
And we obviously won't know the actual times and dates until April rolls around with any of that.
All right, Dave, anything else? Or do you want to get to some reader emails and close out the show?
Yeah, I suppose we get some reader emails here. Let's pull some up here.
I'm sure we have a couple. I'm sure it's a lot of the same, just future and turnovers and fire.
Yeah. Actually, not as many as you would think today. People are pretty depressed. Hey, listen, since day one, congrats on the spectacular growth. Realization, I would rather watch them on Hard Knocks in August than have them blown out by New England next week. Okay. This was one of the funnest seasons. They were essentially in the playoffs from week 3 to week 14. It was awesome. He goes on to write 2020 free agents. Sign. Wow, he's already got it mapped out for us here. Sign Isaiah Crowell, Anthony Harris, strong safety from Minnesota, Case Keenum, or Blake Bortles and Marcus Golden. Team would have been 11-5 with these 1-year rentals. You can do this for 80% of what Bud wants. Let Dupree, Hargrave walk. Use money for TJ. Resign Vance 1 year, $3 million. Sign McCole Pruitt close to a minimum. Wow, 2020 O-line, Villanueva, Finney, Pouncey, DeCastro, Filer. 2020 coaches Butler and Danny Smith will be gone in the next few weeks. Randy is gone as soon as Ben is. 2020 drama, Ben's elbow. He'll be a martyr and dramatic all offseason. Draft a running back, offensive guard, wide receiver, outside linebacker. Yikes. Okay, what do you think about Carlos' email there?
I mean, a lot there. Hey, I appreciate your mapping it out and getting a head start on the off season. The only thing I can really comment to, because the off season plan, I mean, that's fine. I don't know if I wouldn't agree with all of it, but I haven't thought about that stuff. I don't understand the large group of Steelers fans who wanted the team to miss the playoffs, even knowing this team wasn't going to make the Super Bowl. I still want them to make the playoffs because it's the playoffs and that's the goal. So I never rooted for them to lose or to not make the playoffs. I thought that was a strange reaction from a lot of Steelers fans.
I never get that. Why wouldn't you want your team in the playoffs?
Right. It's not even like it's a draft pick incentive too. You don't have a first round pick, so it's not like you're even playing for spots at that point. So yeah, just don't understand that feeling.
I've never gotten that. Oh, I don't want them because they'll get beat by X. I never understood that.
Were fans like that in 2005 when they were the 6th seed? Did fans say, they should have just missed the playoffs because they're not going to win the Super Bowl? I mean, obviously they probably weren't going to win it this year, but some wild card teams exist. You want to get in there and see what happens.
Yeah, you want to get in a tournament, see what can happen. This one from Shrikant writes in again. Hey guys, tough year but really grateful for the wonderful content you guys provide. Thank you for that. I love the adjusted net yard per attempt stat as much as you do, Dave, and I think we can use it to quantify the value of Big Ben. You're damn right we can. Steelers finished with an offensive NEA of 4.6 and defensive NEA of 4.7, differential of 0.1, which makes them 15th in the NFL. Just using Ben's career average adjusted net yards per passing attempt of 6.71 instead of the dreadful one from this year would mean the Steelers would have had a differential of 2.01, which would finish 6th best in the NFL behind only the Chiefs, Pats, 49ers, Ravens, and Vikings. Realize it's not perfect, but a reasonable approximation of the Steelers' relative place among current playoff teams. Oh man, what could have been if Ben played. Also, adjusted net yards per passing attempt suggests Chiefs versus 49ers Super Bowl. Also, Cowboys had a differential of 1.7 and didn't make the playoffs. Eagles made it with a negative -0.1. That's some great observations there by you, Shrikant. And look, they're not in the playoffs because of their offensive adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat.
Yep.
Plain and simple. And you know how I feel about teams with not having a positive differential, and thus that's probably why the Eagles are going to get bounced early here. History says that's going to be the case, and the Steelers, being as how they had a negative differential, odds were not going to be good in their favor had they made it anyway there. But interesting to think back. What if Ben, would have played?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the offense would have been obviously a whole lot better. So good stats there. We'll find out next year, though, because Ben will be back. The defense, the core group will be there. And by the way, speaking of, you mentioned the Browns opening. The Browns are going to interview Ravens offensive coordinator Greg Roman for the head coaching job. So little news and notes there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the right. Look either. But anyway. Opening drive failure from Todd Bays, right? Saying, doesn't the fact that Fichtner failed to develop a plan that would lead to at least one opening drive touchdown speak more of his ineffectiveness than any other struggles this season? Question mark. The injuries at skill position, lack of experience at quarterback are understandable. How that would alter play calling and in-game adjustments. However, the opening drive script is supposed to be a direct result of film study and preparation, looking at the weakness of the defense and exploring it. That's something an OC should be able to do at least in 16 games. Am I wrong here? Thanks for all you do. Love the show. Keep up the good work. Here's the thing, man. Todd, look, we talked about it and all, and how man, what a rarity it is for any offense. I wonder how many times overall any offense has failed to do that. Alex?
I think it's been a couple previously. I mean, there were 3 that didn't do it heading into Week 17. Then the Titans and Texans both did it in the same game against each other. So I don't know if it's super uncommon. I mean, obviously only 1 or 2 teams a year. But I agree with what Todd said. It's basically what I said earlier in the show. So I think that's kind of the best way to look at an OC's effectiveness. And I'll give you here are the opening possession results on all 16 opening drives for Pittsburgh in 2019. Punt, field goal, fumble, punt, interception, fumble, punt, field goal, interception, punt. That's about as bad as it gets.
All right, but we're also only looking at 16 total, 16 total drives here, and also, execution. It plays.
Yeah,
play. There's a lot of this apple that's got to stay intact. In my opinion. Now, look, the game against San Francisco, I mean, you get a gift down there. Mm-hmm. You can't bury that one. What has been what has been their best starting field position?
Well, the San Francisco one. But again, every team's got bad starting field positions usually on their first drive. I mean, you get to a point where you say 16 games. It's just not. I just can't defend that. I can't. I know execution's part of it. There were certainly plays the Colts game where an interception went through Juju's hands. I mean, there are moments where it's not on Fichtner, but over the entire course of a season with 16 drives like that, and have essentially one drive that ended in points because the San Francisco was a 3-and-out field goal based off of field position. I mean, I just can't defend that in any way, shape, or form.
It's a bad look.
And again, I think that can be as reflective on coaching as anything when you look at an offensive coordinator's job. So I think Todd makes a good point.
But is it enough to lose him his job?
Well, if it was me, I'd be firing Fichtner, but I know they're not because Ben and Fichtner are going to be joined at the hip, and you try to come back, and number 7 makes his offense look a whole lot better.
All right, 8-8 from Bryce. Hey, guys, I hope you had a good Christmas. Lousy way to end the season, but considering what the teams had to endure, I give credit to Tomlin and front office. A couple thoughts, questions. Much like the Ravens and Patriots have done, should the Steelers have gotten more creative in replacing Rosie Nix at fullback? Maybe guys like Ola, Spillane, Chiclo. Look, I mean, to what degree are you going to do that, though?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very minor thing. They're not going to really change the course of anything for you.
I mean, you want to talk about me in red zone, goal to go situation, bringing in one of those guys? Okay, yeah. But I mean, on a down by down basis, 15 snaps a game, are you going to be able to do that? No.
No, and they did have a Lulu for one snap this year, but of the list of offensive concerns, not using a defensive player at fullback is about last on that list.
Yeah. Right now, as it stands, who would you both pick and why for this year's Steelers offensive MVP?
I'll have a list of awards tomorrow. I did tweet this out. The list will be pretty similar, but I want David DeCastro, but it's really a by default award because there aren't good options, unfortunately.
I think you can make an argument for Dionte Johnson in there.
Yeah, you really could. As crazy as it is to say, you really could.
But look, I mean, how many All Pro first team All Pro awards is this team going to get this year on the offensive side of the ball?
Zero. Well, DeCastro maybe.
DeCastro might be it, and Jesus, why he'll probably get, for some reason he gets votes for left guard.
Yeah, well, that's another issue.
Now if all the votes go in the right category for him, there's
literally the right category.
Right, literally the right category for him. He might be the team. He might be All Pro this year. They ran a little bit of power again yesterday. With him on the hoof. But it's him. He was a bright spot, and Dionte Johnson was a bright spot offensively, and I think really that's where. What are you doing with Vance McDonald? We got plenty of time to talk about this, but what's your initial thoughts on Vance McDonald?
I don't know. I'd love to know what his health situation is because it does not feel like he's healthy. He's been available, but those can be two different things. You want to take a hard look at addressing tight end in the offseason in some capacity.
If it means the difference, but if you had to choose, well, with all the other things that we think could go on, the one thing that would prevent Bud Dupree from staying would be the Steelers keeping Vance McDonald. Are you waving goodbye to Vance McDonald?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not.
I know it's not.
I
know you can't put that in a vacuum like that. But
right.
Look, I think they really got to take a hard look at it. Health, production. He's just not the blocker that he never was a great blocker, but he was better a couple of years ago when he first arrived.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Point taken. We'll deal with that. We got a whole offseason to think about those things.
All right. Bryce goes on to say, one change that I would make to the defense for next year is to have a specific plan for number 34. He simply cannot be matched up in space. Should play strictly in the box where he is most effective. Well, he played mostly in the box this year, did he? Good part of it. I would also be prepared for the defense to be a little less talented next year because of the loss of either Bud, Javon, or both. They will have to be much better complementary football because they can't expect to get almost 40 turnovers. Now, yeah, look, it's hard to expect those kind of turnovers. I still think if you do have a complementary offense, I think this defense can be one of the league's top 5 defense. Even, obviously it's going to be tough if you lose a guy like Dupree. But I think they're in better shape to absorb a loss of Hargrave, than anything else.
Yeah, even if the defense takes a small step back in terms of the takeaways they get, the offense will make up for that by taking steps forward, obviously with Ben coming back. And so much for that magic number of 25 I outlined, Dave. That was a ticket to get to the playoffs to get 38, and they still miss. So that's pretty rare.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's happened before, right?
Yeah, it has happened before, but not too often.
Sad to waste all that, and you came close to the 60 sack mark, didn't you?
Yeah, they ended with 54, so they kind of waned at the end. The last 3 games, they had probably 6 or 7 sacks, but they've led the league in sacks in 3 straight years, which I think is the first time that's happened since the merger. So sacks weren't the issue.
I thought it'd be kind of hard to hit that 60 number way back when we talked about it, but they damn sure had it on track up until the last couple of weeks there. Yep. For sure. Jeff Berg writes in, I'm wondering what the two of you think about Juju. He has vanished. I know he has been injured, but he didn't make any impact I can recall all season. That's not something I would say about a number 1 wide receiver. Dionte Johnson made plays. Washington made plays. Where has Juju gone? So many balls bounced off his fingertips. I'm concerned we may need to find someone to be the number number one? Are y'all worried? Well, look, I got criticism dating in first 2 years of Juju's career about posting balls that contested catches that I thought he should have made. People got irate at me for doing that. Uh, Look, he's not a bad player, but there are, and he's a good contested. He is a good contested ball catcher. However, there's going to be he's going to have 5 a year. You can go ahead and pencil in at least 5 a year where he's not catching them on balls that he should catch. If there's one drawback about him, it's that he wasn't healthy this year for however since the Browns game on, obviously. He need got to have a higher level of concentration, and there are plays that if you're going to be a number one in the NFL that you got to make, and he didn't have those plays. Now look, you go back to last year and the plays down the sideline against the Jack. He's made the kind of plays that you need him to make. It was a bad season for him. Is he going to get a contract? Alex and I got plenty of time to talk about that and all. Is he a true number one? Obviously, I understand there being doubts about that right now coming off of the season that he had. But, yeah, he did vanish this season, and a lot of it, I think, was due to injury and due to quarterback play.
Yeah, it was obviously a miserable year for him, one to forget, and we know the type of player he is and what he's capable of. The injury impacted him severely this year, and obviously he just didn't play well in some opportunities either, but I think you just try to put 2019 past you, forget about it like it didn't happen, and attack 2020 with a new kind of vigor, because this was just a terrible year, and you just want to work past it and get back to playing like Juju played his first 2 years.
And look, I'm not opposed to even to the guys that they ended the season with there. I mean, Johnny Holton, Kane, Darbo, we never got to see Darbo inactive last couple of games there. A lot of those guys right now are just guys. So not opposed to adding, look, Ryan Switzer's under contract. He might make it to training camp, but he ain't going to make it out of training camp next year.
Who are the locks to make the 53 in that receiver room? Dionte, Juju, Washington. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. But, yeah, the other guys will be there. Like, Kane will be in camp. I'm excited to see him with an offseason under his belt. But, I don't think
Darbo will be there, you would think. Holton will be there in camp. Switzer will be there in camp. But, we've talked about it for several weeks now, that third or fourth round burner, if you will, maybe, guy that can maybe stretch the field a little bit better for you. I think it could be in order now. Let Juju be able to do what he does in the slot kind of things. And if you can get him back in a situation where he's not bracketed all the time, Deontay's going to get a little bit more respect next year, I think, as well too. So, and Washington, where are you at in James Washington right now?
I'm still impressed by the year. I know it was quiet at the end, and he didn't have a particularly good game yesterday. He had that one, long ball down the left sideline that clanked off his fingertips. But I saw enough big plays. I saw the jump that you want to expect from a guy hitting his sophomore year to really be encouraged by his future going forward.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to be a 60 catch guy, personally.
No, he's your prototypical vertical threat. Not a great one, but a good one.
Right. He's obviously got 2 years left now, and barring something changing, it's hard to foresee him not at least making it the final 2 years there. I think he can be used in certain situations and be a weapon for you. It would have been nice to see him come down with that ball against the Jets on a nice play by the safety there. But, look, I think they're going to add to the receiver room in some way during the offseason here. Bob Turner writes in, hey, you must get hello, Dave. You must get sick every time you see George Kittle catch another pass. Well, yeah, pretty close. 49ers hit a little slump a few weeks back and coincided with Kittle missing some time with the injury. You never can get that opportunity back. The chance to draft Kittle in the fourth round. They have a crater at the tight end position and have never replaced Heath Miller. 2019 was a one big weird season. A lot of defense stopped creating turnovers. Defense can be championship caliber if Tua can stay healthy, if they re-sign Dupree, but the offense is another story. It's a big gamble to expect Ben to be fully healthy. Why is it a big gamble with Ben? Is it just because the elbow Why do people say it's a big gamble to expect Ben to be fully healthy and all good in physical condition at 38 in
Yeah,
2020?
just the injury and the longevity and all that stuff, age,
Okay, do we
whatnot.
have any reason to believe he won't be?
No, not currently.
All right, from what I saw, I wouldn't rely on Rudolph as the backup. They must find a suitable quarterback in case Ben can't come back. They need another wide receiver and running back and tight end to help on the offensive line. That's not asking for too much, is it? If they are up against a cap and currently only have 5 draft picks, hopefully they will receive a late third for Bell. It'll be challenging offseason. Will Colbert stick around 2 or 3 more years? If not, who replaces him? Rooney isn't getting rid of Tomlin, but if they miss the playoffs again next year, what happens next? But there are a lot of questions in this one, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of hypotheticals. With Colbert, I think he's there through 2021, and I think his heir is going to be Brandon Hunt, is my guess.
Let's see here. Where can we go to next? Nathan writes in, first time writing, huge fan of the show and listened to every episode. What would you do with Juju in the offseason? It was clearly a down year for him. He did drop a few balls, 6 that I remember, but the poor quarterback play and injuries certainly didn't help. Ordinarily, he'd be paid before the final year of his rookie deal. Do you risk paying him wide receiver 1 money now, or should they wait and see if he balls out next season with Ben and hope he can outbid his potential suitors? Do you think a tag would come into play?
If I'm Juju, I'm probably just betting on myself and playing out this year because, it's hard to try to cash in long term coming off a year that he had. It's going to hurt his value. So if I'm him, unless the offer is really good now, which I doubt it is, I'm just going to play this year out and try to recoup my value for 2020.
I don't know. You think he'd take something along a $10 million or deal?
I think you wait. I think if you him, you wait. I mean, because you let your value go back up, let the market value in general go back up. If that's what I would. I mean, he doesn't need the money. He's got sponsorships. He's got ads. The dude's got money. He's not dying on a rookie contract over here. So if I'm him, I'm just gonna go out and have a great year with Ben and then cash in after that.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see it going that way at this point right now, based on the season that he had. I mean, it's hard to justify giving him top 10 money right now.
Mm-hmm. But if he has a great year, you probably will get it. So
right.
bet on yourself.
And force the tag.
Yep.
And James Conner, we went into this season thinking those 2 guys will have their hand out during the offseason. Mm-hmm. Now not so much, right?
What a difference a year makes.
Sure does. Ted Webb writes in, I know over the past few weeks you've been getting questions about Connor's contract, and he needs to bet on himself since he hasn't played a whole season. And with all the other players Steelers need to sign, where does Juju fit in? And should he also bet on himself? Well, I think we kind of already answered that. P.S. Hate the offseason, but we'll continue to listen. Love the offseason content you guys bring. Gets me ready for next year. Thanks, Ted. Happy season to you as well, too. Ted, I think we already answered a bunch of that there. Matt writes in, we'll make this one the final one. What should the Steelers do at backup quarterback with so much inconsistency when Mason and Duck seems we learned neither was truly reliable to rely on, with perhaps a to-be-determined label on Rudolph? Should they look for a Case Keenum veteran type to back up next season? Here's the thing, Matt. People are trying to say Bridgewater and throw all these names. These guys, if you're a good backup, you're probably not going to be cheap.
Right. That's the point that I've referenced too. Quarterbacks are just expensive in general. Even backups like Case Keenum made $3.5 million in 2019. Can the Steelers swing that with how tight their cap space is? Probably not. So I would be open to adding a veteran, but a real low-level veteran like Trevor Siemian type guy.
Yeah, and even that's that makes you put a lemon face on,
Yeah. I mean, like a Blaine Gabbert maybe is like the top option, which I know is bad, but I mean, I'm not. I don't want to bring in
excuse me.
Yeah, right there. I don't want to bring in a rookie or a young guy because at number 4, because it seems pointless when you have Rudolph, you have Hodges. So I'm okay with bringing in a veteran, but it's not going to be a name that people are going to like. I can tell you that much.
Ryan Fitzpatrick made him a little bit of bump money the last week of the season, didn't he?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the dude's going to. Yeah, you can't bring in Fitzpatrick to be a backup. The dude's going to make too much money. Like Simeon made nothing this year. Gabbert made $1 million. Those are the type of guys you're going to be targeting. Someone just super, super cheap.
And people say, well, Josh Rosen's out there. Well, yeah, Josh Rosen's also. I mean, is Josh Rosen any better than Mason Rudolph?
Also, he's not even out there. He's not been cut. He's still under contract
Well,
by Miami.
right. But people are saying, is that a guy that you could potentially go after?
Well, I don't want to trade more capital for backup quarterbacks. No, thank you.
I just don't see. Look, it would be nice to be in a better situation. You would still hope that Mason Rudolph can be your backup, okay? And B, if you did upgrade, have more of a veteran type, what could very well happen, Alex, is and I won't be shocked. Can you having a full off season with Paxton Lynch, okay?
Yeah.
What could happen? Could Paxton Lynch be your could he be your Bruce Gronkowski, Charlie Batch?
That's a good point. I mean, does he get carried through camp? Yeah, I guess it's actually a pretty good. I didn't even really consider that. I probably should have. Yeah.
I damn sure ain't cutting him right now.
I mean, he's kind of your number 4 veteran-ish type player. Already fits the bill. Yeah, they may not make a move there.
Not that it sends, not get all warm fuzzies about it, but people just say you want a guy with a little bit of pedigree and all. Yeah, he hasn't played nearly as much as say a Charlie Batch did during his career or a Bruce Gronkowski, but it's the same kind of player, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about at least getting into camp with 4. Yeah, they may not make any moves there. I don't know, but that's a good point.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you're already going to carry the extra arm most of the offseason anyway because of Ben.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So do you carry 5 quarterbacks with Ben on the mend, or do you carry just 4?
You might. Yeah. I mean, look. I mean, it's not going to cost you anything else to add another one of these minimum guys out there, and that's what it will be. Make no mistake about it. It'll be a minimum guy.
Does my suggestion of a Simeon or Gabbard, does that sound about right in terms of the type of guy they'll bring in?
I just hate to think about it.
Yeah. No one's going to like it, but don't expect Teddy Bridgewater to be strolling through that locker room. Not going to happen.
Right. People are going to throw out these names from now until whenever that it's just not fathomable.
Because the limited cap space the Steelers have has to go to keeping guys like Bud Dupree, signing their own guys, and all that stuff. They can't go on a lavish free agency spending spree.
One last one from Derek Smith. Happy early New Year to the best Steelers podcast out there. As I watched the Clemson-Ohio State game last night, I couldn't help but envision Travis Etienne and J.K. Dobbins in a Steelers jersey as a proven home run threat at the running back position. If either or both are available, what do you think about grabbing one of them with our second-round pick? I don't think about that, Derek, to be quite honest with you, at least not yet. Or is there another positional need you think is too glaring and should be addressed first? Derek, the season just ended. We're going to start getting hard and heavy into this draft. But like I said at the beginning of the show, and I think Alex agrees with me as well, too, I will be shocked if the Steelers spend a second I won't go. I'll cut it off at second right now. But I will be shocked if they spend their first pick in the draft, which will be in the second round, on a running back. I just cannot see that happening. Maybe we'll play this back come March or whatnot. I'll be singing a different tune, but I just can't see that happening there.
Yeah, I don't see it on day 2. Whatever it's worth, we're talking running backs. Jets head coach Adam Gase was asked if he wants Le'Veon Bell back in 2020, and Gase's response was, he's under contract for 3 more years. You can ask Joe Douglas, their GM. So not a ringing endorsement from Adam Gase. So I really think Le'Veon Bell is playing in a different city in 2020, which you were right about. I know you're going to jump on that. I know.
Wait, what?
Be there.
Say it again.
You were right, Dave. So I think
I hold on, make sure the recorder's running here.
All right. Well, I think that's our show. Good stuff.
No, I'm just having some fun. Look, and here's the thing. I'm sure we're going to start hearing too. Oh, the Steelers should bring back Le'Veon Bell.
That's what I'm getting at. And the report was they had interest at the deadline, and I believe there's at least some kernel of truth there. I know that you probably less so believe that report, but again, I don't know how you make it work financially, but I think you will at least hear that story come up this offseason.
Look, it's great if you can make it happen. I just don't see. I mean, what don't you want to have? I mean, you obviously would. You talk about already cutting some people there. You'd cut Foster. You wouldn't re-sign Finney. You'd cut McDonald. You cut Barron. I mean, you go down the list, and it still might not be enough because you had, if you traded for and look, even if you traded for him, what capital are you going to give up for him?
Fair point.
A third?
Probably would. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it would take. I mean, if they want to just get rid of him, then they might get him for whatever they can get for him. But yeah, I don't know what the capital would be.
And with his age now, and
it was a bad year. It was a terrible year for Bell.
Right, with his age now, just typically things don't go well for running backs right now. At that age, and invest that kind of money. Look, I wouldn't scream and pitch a fit if he was to come back. I just don't see how you make it happen.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I don't know how the mechanisms make it work. I'll give Bell credit though. I mean, I think he was professional all year long. He said the right things. He did the right things by and large. He was an every down guy when they needed him to be. I think Gase is just being a jerk by everything he's saying about Bell this year.
It's so hard to make an argument given these running backs that big money, man.
Right. Yeah. But I'm just putting it out there. That story's going to, it's going to be a off-season headline of should Bell come back to Pittsburgh. It's going to be out there, so I'm just prepping you all for it.
All right. Final thoughts?
Just disappointed. Again, 8-5. I know 8-8 without Ben. You say, okay, you can live with that. But the way that you got to 8-8 is a real gut punch. So, but off-season. That we don't slow down. We're doing the same stuff. We got Senior Bowl coming up. We got draft, free agency. I'm excited to delve into the offseason and go through it with you guys.
Yeah, as per usual, we transition quickly here. I know the tendency is here to try to build Rome in a day in this one podcast. Unfortunately, we can't do that, but we'll slowly start clicking out of the season into the off season. Wednesday, we'll review the All-22 film. Probably won't spend a lot of time on that with the season now over. Look ahead to the playoffs and all, obviously, and then start looking at transition into what we think the Steelers will do during the off season. And obviously, we'll start hitting the draft hard and heavy, and probably the middle of a couple weeks from now, we'll start hard and heavy on these draft profiles, right, Alex?
Yep, we'll get after it pretty soon.
All right, listeners, thank you for everybody who visited the site. Alex and I really like to thank everybody for the support we've gotten on the site, on Twitter, on the podcast. It just really was our best year ever on all platforms involved there, and we couldn't have done it without the listeners and the readers and all. And we certainly do appreciate that. Without all of y'all, none of this would be possible. Correct, Alex?
Yeah, this is our last of 2019, isn't it? Our last podcast, right? So, it was a great year. It was literally our best year ever. So we're really thankful for the support and excited for the off season.
Yeah, we look, working as hard as we normally do, moving forward and trying to get into some stuff maybe and make stuff better. If we can in certain areas there. Thanks to all the contributors on Steelers Depot as well. Too long list to go through, but everybody knows who they are. They're not hard to point out. Matthew Marks, you've been our right-hand guy for forever and a day. Can't say enough about it. Run through the list real quick, Alex, so we don't leave anybody out here. Josh Carney, Daniel Valente, Tom Mead.
Yep, Nick Farbaugh, Michael K. Reynolds, Tim Rice, David Orchena. I'm going to miss some people, and I'm doing this on the fly here.
Dr. Mel.
Mm-hmm. I think that might be the group. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but the whole team. It's a great group, and we're thrilled and lucky to have them.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be adding to them here at the start of the new league year as well, too. A couple new people that probably some people will recognize as well, too. So thank you. And in the meantime, if you can follow me on Twitter, please do so at Steelers Depot. If you can follow Alex on Twitter, please do so at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. We hope you stick with the podcast and the site throughout the off season. You know what to kind of expect in that. Also, if you enjoyed what Alex and I put together this past year and want to pay us back if you haven't already done so, you can go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button up right navigational bar. That way, also, if you want a year's subscription to Steelers Depot, ad-free version of it for $25, you can go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, and put that in place and help yourself. And not only that, help us on top of it as well, too. Alex, fantastic job. Glad to have you as a partner. You do fantastic work, and take my hat off and hand it to you.
All right, thank you, Dave. Same to you.
And as always, thanks for listening to The Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.
Welcome to The Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave.